Welcome to 18 Group's Data Management Summit USA Virtual Keynote with Linda Coffman, Executive Vice President at the SmartStream RDU. Linda will discuss the role of data scientists in capital markets. If you'd like to ask Linda a question, please use the comment function next to the session, or you can use the contact details at the end of the presentation. Finally, we'd like to say a big thank you to all our sponsors and partners for their support and making this event possible. Visit the sponsors and prizes page for your chance to win one of the many sponsor giveaways at this event.
Hello, my name is Linda Coffman and I am Executive Vice President at SmartStream Technologies. I'm currently head of the Reference Data Utility Business Division. I'm really looking forward to talking to you today about the importance of recognizing where your data expertise resides. Where are your hidden data scientists? Over the last few years, the phrase data scientist comes up a lot, whether at conferences, on job postings, industry publications, and so on. At one conference, I remember looking around at the audience when someone was presenting, and they had referred to the role of a data scientist, and I thought to myself, I bet everyone in this audience has a slightly different version of what a data scientist actually is. On the next slide, I think it's evident that a lot of people have the definition has evolved. And so when I first started thinking about data scientists, my initial thoughts were similar to how Microsoft describes a data scientist. They say data scientists apply machine learning techniques to train, evaluate, and deploy models that solve business problems. But as time went on, data became more relevant in every aspect of our lives, and I noticed that the term was being used much more broadly. Northeastern University describes a data scientist as someone who works closely with business stakeholders to understand their goals and determine how the data could be used to achieve these goals. They design data modeling processes, create algorithms and predictive models to extract the data and business needs and help analyze the data and share insights with peers. Now that definition is starting to look beyond the analytics and diving deeper into the analysis and gathering of requirements. Since I always love to use the typical Google search, here is Techopedia definition of a data scientist. A data scientist is an individual, organization, or application that performs statistical analysis, data mining, and retrieval processes on a large amount of data to identify trends, figures, and other relevant information. A data scientist performs data analysis on data stored in data warehouses or data centers to solve a variety of business problems, optimize performance, and gather business intelligence. Okay, so now we're putting together characteristics of a business analyst, data analyst, developer, quantitative analyst, and not just applicable to an individual, but an organization or application. So as you can see, definitely evolving. It is evolving so much that it's now splintered off into two different categories, that of a data scientist and that of a citizen data scientist. Gartner defines a citizen data scientist as a person who creates or generates models that use advanced diagnostic analytics or predictive and prescriptive capabilities, but, and it's a big but, whose primary job function is outside the field of statistics and analytics. As highlighted on the next slide, today for our chat, I would like to use the term data scientist as more of a concept, one that takes into account a bit of each of the definitions just discussed, and really focus on that citizen data scientist. There is what I think an underappreciation and utilization, and actually more importantly, just basic identification of those team members that are channeling the spirit of a data scientist in everyday activities. So today for our chat, the term data scientist is more of an overarching concept. It's a person that on a daily basis interacts with large sets of data, becomes intimate with that data, whether it's due to responsibility, it's in their remit, or a necessity, or just curiosity. That person gains experience no one else has because no one else is involved with that data to the extent or manner that they are. And that person makes decisions based on the data, and those decisions directly impact businesses. On to the next slide. So why is this important and a topic I would choose to speak about today? Because daily, I'm seeing that by the nature of big data and digitization, there's been kind of a shift in what we expect from our staff as we inadvertently are asking them all to be data scientists to some degree. And I see the firms who recognize this and leverage their staff or their vendor partners actually are the most successful. Data has infiltrated all parts of our professional and personal life. We're expected to just kind of go with the flow, and it's the new normal in the products and services that we use daily. Similarly, we expect our staff to do the same thing. So it's not necessarily defined, but we assume that they will. Developers, data analysts, quantitative analysts, business analysts are living and breathing large sets of data every day, and thus they have to become data scientists organically. This has an impact potentially on what we look for in a candidate when we're hiring, how we allocate resources to projects, which I'll go into a little bit more, and how we evaluate the cost of managing a data set. I don't think everybody does that well at this point in time. This all can lead to data expertise scattered throughout the firm, and opportunities to leverage that expertise can get lost if not paid attention to. Going to pick on my mom a bit for a second. She works for a charity, and the charity hosts events, and my mom helps to coordinate ticket sales and payments, etc. And she was originally tracking all the attendees and seating arrangements and such in a spreadsheet. She was not thinking like a data scientist at the time. They switched to a computer software program to manage the events, and two things happened. One, she realized that the data she was collecting could be leveraged in so many different ways. And to her frustration, she realized that another member of her team, a bit younger, was able to operate the software faster and was able to recognize those added insights faster. She recognized that there was expertise that she could leverage in-house to help the whole organization. So it's in all aspects of our life, big data is having an impact. As I illustrate in this slide, data is being managed by many more hands than firms acknowledge. And so this is the part I wanted to talk about cost. As with most things in life, there are positives and negatives as things evolve. And as data becomes more important to the core of all business, and data quality and data insights are recognized as key contributors to a firm's success, more data science are being discovered, embedded in numerous parts of the organization. Therefore, most firms do not have a true understanding of the cost of managing their data. Spend assessment based on resource allocation and cost centers, it just doesn't work anymore. Firms often first start to recognize this when they're evaluating, if they do evaluate, their exception management. It tends to be scattered and addressed by those with titles having nothing to do with data quality. The true cost of managing data is much higher and broader than it appears at first glance. An accurate assessment, however, can really lead to sound business decisions around content, around outsourcing decisions, around vendor selection, and staffing. On the slide, the diagram on the right really just defines where I've seen personally data expertise scientists, whatever you want to categorize them as, are sitting and can really be leveraged. Moving on to the next slide, the good news is that firms now have a large pool of data scientists hiding under the covers in many different departments. If recognized and allowed to bring value, these resources can be leveraged to ensure higher data quality, more efficient data management solutions, and ultimately drive down costs and up value. This can be seen by examples of more effective collaboration, for instance, between data operations staff and development staff, or more insightful functional requirements from whether that be a business analyst or somebody in your front office, more effective data quality assessments. That's just to name a few. In addition, we have seen that staff is much happier when challenged beyond the mundane and recognized for their expertise and insightful impact, and that is key. The next slide highlights two examples where knowing your data and evaluating the data had a direct financial impact, but in different ways. data quality is near and dear to my heart. So I will leave you with 2 examples of staff going beyond their remit and adding value to their firm or to the industry overall. So the first one I came across when I was leading a data operations team years ago. Floating rate, in our group, we had to enter data on floating rate instruments. And so I had someone working for me who was an expert in this. He just had such passion about it, and he really immersed himself in it, into the daily operations of what he had to do. And what he had to do at a high level is take the prospectus, pull out pieces of terms and conditions, and put it into our system. He noticed that one of the instruments, the coupon rate, was coming in different than he would have imagined. He had no responsibility to calculate this coupon rate, but he was so passionate about the data that he recognized it. And he was very stubborn in a good way individual, and he kept on calling the trustee and kept on calling the issuer and saying, I think you have a problem, I think you have a problem. And at the end of the day, after they finally answered the phone and finally answered his emails, and they evaluated what he was saying, they realized that they had been paying incorrect interest rate to their bondholders for years. And he was able, because he was such an expert, because he saw so much data coming through, he was able to identify this for the firm and the trustee. And the second quick example, I titled it, "It costs us how much money to process data we did not need?" So there was, I have experience with a data feed coming in to one of the organizations from the regulator, and it had 33,000 expired instruments, and the feed was not supposed to have any expired instruments for the use case that it was helping. And so a team analyzed this, kept on seeing it, kept on highlighting it, kept on saying, you know, we think something's off here. The expired instruments keep adding up, adding up, adding up. If we, for simplicity purposes, assign 1 cent, 1 penny to how much it costs to process one and manage one instrument, and just for, again, simplicity's sake, we say 10,000 people are using this feed, that would mean that on a daily basis, it was costing the industry $3 million to process data that they did not need. And this was happening day after day after day. And so, again, because of that exposure and how much this group lived and breathed this data, they were able to highlight this, and eventually the instruments were removed from the feed, and the industry saved a whole bunch of time and energy and cost. So in conclusion, on the next slide, I just wanted to say, I feel very passionate about that firms need to recognize your data experts, aka data scientists for this presentation, whether they be in-house or outsourced. You know, I spoke earlier that I'm from the RDU, so we often collaborate with our clients as far as being data experts. So it's something that we see firsthand. But encourage them, whether they be outsourced or in-house, and allow them to flourish and include them in your data management strategy. Because if you do, you will have a stronger data management strategy, you will have a cleaner set of data, and you will be adding value to your business. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the time that you shared with me. I certainly enjoyed presenting. If you have any questions, please use the comments function on the video page and I will respond. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the session. The Attendee Hub, which is on the event menu on the left of your screen, is available to all delegates so you can network and chat. And don't forget, we have our RegTech Summit Virtual coming up in November. Meantime, thank you for joining this event.